Okay, obviously disappointing to lose. Always disappointing to lose. That's kind of a ridiculous statement, but we did some good things. I thought defensively we showed up and we slugged it out with them, and just looking at the raw numbers after the game, we did some good things there, and our defense I think is playing well. I don't think there's any secret about that or any doubt about that. We're playing well, doing some very positive things there. Special teams, it was great to see Britt and Covey get the punt return game underway. The kickoff game was non-factor. Nobody had any kickoffs. They're all out of the end zone, or no kickoff returns. They're all kicked out of the end zone, so that was a complete non-factor in the game, but we really had an advantage in the punt game with our punt return, and I think we out-netted them by 17 or 18 yards, which was a big difference when you look at field position. So that was good to get the special teams on track after having a couple weeks of frustration. Offensively, we got to get more going there. Obviously, we turned the ball over 3 times, and that's really hard to win when you play a team of Washington's caliber, and particularly when you only take it away 1 time. So -2 in the turnover margin was probably the biggest issue of the night. If you had to pinpoint one thing, but I still feel really good about our team, and really believe in them, believe in the offensive guys, believe in the defensive guys, believe in everything. It's just that we got to find a way to put it all together and keep working and getting better. The South, I believe, is wide open. When you just look at it, I think it's a wide open race, and certainly didn't help our cause dropping a Pac-12 game, but I think we're still in good shape to contend. So we'll see what happens going forward. Questions?
Looked like Covey took a beating on Saturday. How much concern do you have given how small he is?
Yeah, he's a tough kid. He did get knocked around quite a bit, but he just keeps getting back up off the mat and getting ready for the next play, and we are concerned, and we got to be smart with him. And at the same time, kind of like Tyler last year, Britt can do some things to take himself out of harm's way at times instead of taking that last shot or whatever, finishing runs. He's got to be able to avoid those direct shots. But they got after him pretty good. Washington's a physical team. We feel like we're both physical football teams, and he did take some licks on Saturday night.
You mentioned Zach Moss was a little banged up this weekend. If a guy like him is not 100%, do you feel like the quarterback run game is the second best option, or the backup running backs?
That's a good question, and probably the latter. Probably needed to get Armand a few more carries. And hopefully Zach will be 100% by next week, and we can start feeding him the ball more, which we need to do. I mean, we know that. We're not, we feel like Zach is one of our best weapons on offense without a doubt, and we need to, as soon as he's ready for it, up his load.
Bye week is a self-study time. How deep and wide do you look at your offense and where it stands?
We look at everything on bye week, and it is a self-study time, and look at the first 3 games and tendencies we may have built up, players that are playing well, who maybe needs to get more playing time, who needs less playing time based on production. But it's a good time to do that, as well as, like I said, it was a physical game Saturday. We did get some guys that are pretty beat up, so it helps in that regard as well. And just try to maximize the time, get some recruiting done. All the things you try to do on a bye week we'll be doing, but certainly self-examination.
Kyle, I know you said that the penalties kind of work themselves out in the game, but are there any instances where you as a staff will submit tape to the Pac-12 to kind of see anything that you're seeing that's wrong?
Explain what you mean by wrong. You talking
like do you ever review any of the penalties, like maybe the plays on against Covey, and say maybe these shouldn't be called, or the targeting or whatever they may be, and then review
those?
We
review personally in our own house. We look at every play, everything, and look at the penalties and try to learn from it. Obviously, okay, if here's how they're calling it, then we need to make an adjustment. But the targeting one is really that's hard, to get a grasp on. Marquise Blair's, it just looked like kind of like a normal football play, but times have changed, and so yeah, it's constantly trying to figure it out. But yeah, we don't just ignore it. We really pay attention to it.
The Washington defensive line, obviously one of the top units in the conference. The offense, your guys' offensive line seemed to play really well. How did you guys, I guess, assess Nick Ford at right tackle and just the overall performance of the offensive line?
Much improved, and they played much better than we had the week before. I still think they can be even better. I got a lot of faith in our offensive line. I think they can dominate games. I think that's their potential, and we certainly took a big step forward Saturday when you compare it to the week prior. And they're a group that takes a lot of pride in what they're doing, and they came out and just like you said, they were physical, and we were not overmatched in that game, physically. As far as physicality at the line of scrimmage, we were not overmatched.
Did the 7 points feel more indicative of your offense or Washington's defense?
Both. I think give them credit because they played good defense, but we didn't capitalize. We had the ball in the second half on the -11, -20, or +11, +28, and +42-ish going in, and came away with 0. And so we're not capitalizing on opportunities. And by the same token, they're doing a great job of denying the end zone. It's too bad the ball popped out of our D lineman's hand. He was walking in, but that was an unfortunate turn of events because we got nothing out of it.
Your wide receivers have had some drops. It's been noted and all that. But when they got recruited, presumably they were catching the ball. That's why they got recruited. Is it kind of become a mental thing? Is it kind of contagious?
It can be. It can be, and you got to include the tight ends in that as well. We had a couple drops out of the tight ends, but you just keep. It's not due to lack of effort. It's not due to lack of practice time and working on the jugs machine. Every skill player we have works on the jugs machines every day after practice, and so we're putting the time in. And my guess is it's going to be corrected, and we're going to get better at it because those are, like I said after the game, those are drive killers oftentimes, and so. It's tough enough to score on a defense like Washington without, shooting yourself in the foot over and over.
How did you guys grade Tyler Huntley as a passer against Washington?
It's that's kind of a relative question because if we don't drop the ball, it would have been really, really good numbers. But with all the drops, just very average. But, and everybody in the country has a drop or two here and there. It's not like nobody's dropping the football ever. But when you have excessive drops, that makes the QB numbers look not as good as they were.
A lot of teams might prefer a bye week in the middle of the season. Does this come at a pretty good opportune time for you?
We make it opportune whenever it comes. I've said that before. We don't have, if they let you choose when the bye week was, then I'd give it more thought. But without having any choice and any say in the matter, and it just randomly appears, then we just plan for it, and we know it months in advance, and just and even when you know months in advance, you don't know what the state of the team's going to be when it happens, and because if you're playing real well, you'd like to just keep playing and not take a week off. At least that's my preference, but no, haven't. We just take them as it comes, as they come.
Just wondered how you evaluate Huntley after 3 weeks, and then also with the bye week, if you might be taking a closer look at the freshman quarterbacks.
We evaluate him. We evaluate everybody, but he's got room for improvement, like pretty much everyone on the football team. Right now, we're not going to create some quarterback controversy. We feel Tyler gives us our best chance to win right now, and as long as that's the case, he'll be the guy. If something happens to change that, then we'll open it back up to competition. But right now, we feel that he is the guy that gives us our best chance on Saturdays.
Britton mentioned the word identity as possibly lacking with the offense the other night, and that's a word you've used sometimes. What do you sense is the identity of this offense?
Yeah.
What do you want it to be?
Well, we first of all, we're physical. We've got a really good back in Zach Moss. We know that he's been limited, but we would like to get to the point where we're a physical run team that physical in the run game and giving the ball, feeding the ball to to our best runner, and identity is kind of an ambiguous term. I mean, there's a lot of different directions that can go, but a team that takes care of the football, has physicality in the run game, and has big play capability, that would be ideal.
Year 2 for Troy Taylor. How do you grade him, especially in his play calling abilities?
We'll grade it at the end of the year. You can't do that week to week to week. It just, you just look at what your issues are currently and keep trying to work on that.
What's your motto or agenda for the bye week? What are you doing as far as practice and giving the guys some time off and all that jazz?
We don't have a set way. It depends on when the next game is, how we're playing, how early in the season it is. A bye week later in the season, you're going to give them more time off than a bye week earlier in the season, just because of where you're at. And so, this particular week, our travelers will practice a couple times, 2 times. Our developmental guys will practice 3 times. We'll get in the weight room, try to get some strength back, and because it's hard to maintain your strength during the course of the season. Get recruiting done. Towards the tail end of the week, the coaches will go out and recruit and give the players some time off towards the end of the week.
How much of an opportunity have you had to watch other Pac-12 teams play this season, and we use the bye week as an opportunity to really focus in on some of these Pac-12 teams?
Yeah, I've had occasion to watch 3 or 4 games, probably Pac-12 games, and we'll hone in on Washington State this week. I mean, we'll get a head start on that. That's really the only team we're concerned with right now. But as I mentioned, you just look at the South and you see the scores and who's, it looks pretty wide open. And so, we'll focus exclusively on Washington State. But we all, whenever you have a chance to watch a game and look at somebody who's coming up on the schedule, you take a peek if you have the opportunity.
You mentioned some of the issues getting the offensive personnel groups in on Saturday night.
Yeah. Need to scale back the amount of groups we have. That's something I think we maybe overloaded our guys a little bit on Saturday with personnel groups, and that's just our offensive coaches trying to get the best group for that particular play out there, and sometimes you can take that a little bit too far and just it gets a little bit convoluted and a little tough to sort out. So I think that's what you saw towards during some of those drives where there was a little bit of uncertainty of who's in, who's out, and that's us as coaches need to get that ironed out. That's not the player's fault.
With Zach Moss looking a little dinged up there, was there any thought to going with Armand Shine as the guy late in that game?
Well, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we should have given Armand a few more carries rather than, diminish the run game or supplement it with Tyler. I think Armand, but you got to practice the right way too. And there's things you earn your playing time, and just because you're the next guy up, if you haven't practiced right, and I'm not saying Armand's been a bad practicer, but the coaches got to feel confident in you and trust you that you're going to do the job. So it's not just one guy goes down, the backup comes in and gets the same work the starter would have got. It's what gives you your best chance to move the football. Boy, you guys are full of them today, huh? Yeah, it's good it's a bye week.
Given that it's the second year of this particular scheme and improvement seemed inevitable, and also in the context of kind of almost a 10-year search for offensive consistency here, what's your level of frustration?
Well, like I said, it's too early. We don't have a huge body of work. We move the ball and come on in, Corian. Came in the wrong door, but that's okay. We, for 2 weeks we've struggled a little bit. That's probably an understatement. The name of the game on offense is points, and followed closely by taking care of the football. And right now we're not putting enough points up, and we're turning the ball over more than anyone in the Pac-12. So, based on those 2 things, we got a lot of work to do. But I keep going back to the confidence I have in our players. I really like our offensive players, and I really believe in them. We really believe in them, and so we as coaches got to do a better job of putting them in position to be successful.
We've got 2 questions, so I hope that I can hold the mic. Is that okay, Liz? The first question is with the passing game. It seems like there's a big emphasis on getting it out quick, like on those quick outs and that kind of thing. And Washington identified that and kind of jumped Britton Covey's hit where by Byron Murphy kind of comes to mind. Is that something, a concern in terms of getting the ball downfield?
So your question is about coming out quick or getting the ball quick or getting the ball downfield?
Any concerns about getting the ball downfield a little bit further than just 5 and
More
10
than we
yards?
are?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you got to have balance in the throw game as well. You have to have balance run pass. You have to have balance when you throw the ball. It can't be all quick game. It can't be all deep shots. I mean, you got to keep the defense off balance and guessing. And I think we maybe got a little heavy in the quick game. And yeah, they rolled up the corners and played some cover two. They're too deep secondary off very often, anyways. But yeah, that's something that is a concern. And obviously, we had gone to that too much. We took some shots from those corners in that exact scenario that you mentioned with the quick out and the corner rolled up and just teeing off on the receiver, oftentimes before he even had a chance to get his head around.
And then the second question is in regards to recruiting. Any specific areas you guys are looking to hit this week?
Geographically or position-wise? Just our normal footprint, Southern Cal, Texas. We'll send coach to Miami, Florida. And so just our usual footprint, Northern Cal, nowhere out of the norm, though.